Okay guys, today is a little bit different. I'm going to be installing a Icon add a leaf kit to the rear end of my 2010 Tacoma. Basically the truck is already lifted. It's got a 2-inch like leveling kit on it. And I've got blocks on the rear leaves. The rear leaves are actually factory recall, they're brand new. And if I get under here, so I've got Bilstein 5100s, really nice shock. I've got the blocks here, it's a 2-inch block, and then I've got these fairly new leaf springs. And what I'm finding is the leaf springs used to be very arced, and now they're quite flat. And I'm noticing the rear end sort of sag a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out these blocks on the rear axle and put in the Icon add a leaf kit to give me some more leaves. Now I went with the Icon kit because it's got some great reviews. So this is the kit. But what I like about it is that it's got multiple leaves. Some of the add a leaf kits only have like one big leaf. I like that this just has more stuff. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to jack up the truck and install this kit. Hopefully I can get it in today. What are you doing? Okay, I'm going to disconnect this parking brake thing. It's a 12 millimeter. The next thing I'm going to do is take off these big U-bolts. These are not stock, obviously, because they need to be longer for this block. So my bolts are 22 millimeter, but I think the stock ones are smaller. I'm just loosening them right now. I'm not actually taking them off. And now I'm going to stick a jack underneath the axle and support it. Okay, so there's just a little bit of tension on the jack, keeping some pressure so that the axle doesn't just fall right off. Okay, so now this bottom plate comes off, and you can see these big U-bolts are just dangling in the wind. Okay, so I've taken the U-bolts out. I've put some clamps on either end, like you can see this little clamp over here, and there's one on this side. And I've put the jack under the axle. I've released the pressure off the jack. So there's essentially nothing holding the axle on, but it won't separate from the leaf. And I'm pretty sure it's because this shock is just fully extended. So I'm going to disconnect this shock. There's a bolt at the bottom of it, and I'm just going to pull that out and let it dangle so that this axle has some more relief to fall. Okay, so it's probably hard to see. Well, it's impossible to see, but this shock is completely loose. So it's still attached on the top, but I've just left it disconnected on the bottom. So now there should really be nothing preventing this axle from dropping. So I'm gonna lower the jack and see if I can get this thing to just drop a little bit so I can take that block out. Okay, obviously it's come apart. I still have some tension on the jack, so I don't want this just to like flop around. There's still some tension on the jack, but obviously the jack lets it come down. And then there's the old block. There we go. There's the old block. And that little center pin just, I guess, went into the axle. You know, this has been really useful. Like, it's, I know everyone hates on the lift blocks, but this has been great for, you know, I've had this on here for a couple of years. There's been no trouble. I would just say that it's kind of light duty. And I'm just using my truck too much. And the lift blocks just don't provide enough support. The rear end really sags. So I'm happy to be doing this work. Now there's a center pin here in the leaves. I've clamped them so the leaves aren't going to all fly apart, but I do need to remove this center pin, and I'm going to just spray it down with some PB Blaster, and then I'll try and remove it. Might be kind of hard to see, but this little bolt is right here. And there we go. So what I'm going to do is just clean it up a little bit. I guess that's a factory paint line. So the factory's going to know that I've manipulated this, but that's okay. And now this is a 12. I'll let this sit for a few minutes, and then I'll try and break that bolt off. Okay, so I got my wrench on here. It's been sitting for a couple of minutes. I'm going to just take my trusty convincing device, aka my 2-pound sledge. Yep. Okay, so now, yeah, so now the bolt is actually spinning. So underneath this leaf, I'm just going to clamp that bolt with a vice grip. Okay, I got the vice grip on there, and now I can just break this free. And that bottom leaf is already getting very loose. That's good. Just to give you a sense of time, I've been at this for about, I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that. There we go. Okay, so now this the bottom leaf is off. So now I'm just left with the 3 stock leaves, and I'll start to put the addle leaf in. I still got my clamps on either side, so you can see here and here, still clamping. Really, I just don't want this center hole to get misaligned. So I've prepped all this. This is all clean. Bolt is removed. The bump stop is removed. I've prepped the addle leaf. I've removed the bolt in the center pin. And I've also removed these little bolts that went through here on both sides. Now I'll try and just slip this in. I just don't want to scratch the paint. And I also don't want to hurt the threads of this bolt, so I'm just going to be gentle with it. As best as gentle is. Okay, so it's in. I'm just going to put the bolt on. I don't want to use the bolt to actually pull the leaves together. I'll use clamps for that. So I'm just going to let that sit there for a second. And then I'll use these clamps to pull everything together. I will say this looks great though. This looks really nice. This is exactly, I think, what this truck needs. So I'm not going super tight with anything. I'm being very gentle. This hasn't been a terribly difficult installation so far. I'm probably at this now, including filming, I don't know, maybe a half hour, 40 minutes. I realize I'm not done yet. I still have to do the other side, and I still have to finish this side, but definitely doable within one day, for sure. Definitely doable in an afternoon. Okay, so everything's pretty much good. I've tightened this bolt up. I'll just tighten it down a little bit more. You can see as I'm tightening this, the leaves are getting pulled closer and closer together, and actually my clamps are getting loose. I'm really not putting a lot of, in terms of like how much strength I'm using, I'm really not using very much. I'm going really, really easy on this. This is actually been so far a very easy install. Now, I just jinxed myself when I said that, because as soon as you say it's easy, now I'm screwed. Now something's gonna go bad. So now it's getting tight. Okay, so that's good. On the ends, I'll put in these there we go. I'll tighten that down. And I'll do the front as well. Tighten that down. I could get out the grinder. It just seems like a lot of work for one bolt, so I'm just going to hacksaw this thing off. That's good. And that'll fit on there. No problemo. Okay, so I'll jack the axle up and bring these two things together. There we go. And now I could probably still use the old U-bolts. They're similar in length, but since these are new, I'll use them. Wow, you really need a deep socket. Like I'm using these guys, and almost not enough. But yeah, so make sure you got a deep socket kit if you're going to do this work. Okay, last step is I'm going to put this shock back in place. Oh, there it is. It's in place already. And I'll just slip the bolt in and move on to the other side. Okay, so this is all done. All the bolts are on, everything's tight. One thing I did do is I took this parking brake cable bracket. I know some people just delete it. You probably could do that. It seemed pretty happy here, so I just widened the hole a little bit of the bracket and just slipped the bolt for the add leaf through it. That seems to be fine. It's got lots of play and it can move around and stuff, but it also just keeps it out of the way for if I don't want it to get caught on anything. Yeah, so all in, this is maybe about an hour to do this job. It took me longer because I'm videoing, obviously. You could probably do it. I honestly have no fancy tools here. I'm just using a ratchet set. I have my air impact, which has been handy, but I wouldn't say I even really need it. Like I could just do it with a breaker bar if need be. Yeah, no, it's pretty straightforward. So I'm looking forward to getting the other side done and then the tires back on and just seeing where this ends up. Okay, so just finished a little bit of a shakedown run. I feel like the suspension has settled a bit now, and I would say it looks pretty level, but it looks pretty good. The back isn't sagging as much as it was, and the ride quality is hugely better. Hugely better. Going over bumps and stuff like that feels great. I still have some room. Let me get under here. Still have some room to add on a lift block another lift block if I wanted to. These guys are still quite long, so either I'm going to cut them back or leave them long so I can install potentially a lift block if I want to go like another inch higher or something. But overall, this combination just feels great. So this is Icon add a leaf with the 3-leaf Bilstein 5100s on the shocks. The fronts are, this is a Bilstein upper control arm. This is a Old Man Emu 887 kind of heavy duty spring. And the shock is a Bilstein 5100 shock. And they're actually interesting because they have like different plates. You can sort of set the lower mount wherever you want, which gives you more or less lift. These are set at the bottom setting, so the lowest amount of lift. And they feel incredible. So anyway, I think this is it. This is the combination here. But anyway, not a bad job for Saturday afternoon. Anyway, happy trucking, everybody.